Folks, it's Ian Coggan again. I've got this set up here that I've made according to UFO's diagram. Here's his diagram here. This one is showing the test that he wants me to make. This is the way I've got it wired up, which I imagine is exactly the same as what UFO has asked. Here I have my speedometer, rev counter. Here is the volts in the capacitors. There's the volts in the battery. I've got two 12-volt batteries. This is on battery 1 and battery 2 over here, which is 1329, and also the volts in the capacitor bank C1, C4. The capacitor bank C2, C3 is here. Now there's the amps A1, A2, A3 and A4 amps. These are the only two switches that are working because there's only two switches in the diagram. So I'll switch it on and we'll have a look at the battery drop on both batteries and the capacitors. Then we'll look at the amps, and then we'll look at the speed. And then after it's got up to speed, then I'll be switching on the second battery and we'll see what happens there. Okay, I'll switch it on now. You'll see there that the battery's dropped down to 12.9695. It's going down reasonably quick. The battery 2 is 13.02. The capacitor there, C1, C4, is fluctuating between 1 and 2 volts. C2 and C3 is fluctuating between 10 and 20 volts. The speed is 2200, 2250, 2260. It's just climbing a bit. It seems to be reasonably stable now. It's only after a minute. I should have taken notice of the time, but I didn't. But it's 2256. That seems to be stable there. We'll have a look at the batteries again. Battery 1 bank is 12.67. That remains reasonably stable there. It's fluctuating there. The capacitor bank C2 and C3 is fluctuating between 27, 22, 30 volts. Battery 2 is stable there at 12.8. The capacitor C1, C4 bank is 2.51 volts, fluctuating there. The amp draw, A1 is 0.8 of an amp, A2 is 0.8 of an amp, A3 and A4, it doesn't register. It registers as soon as I start, but then it doesn't register anymore. Now the speed is 2247. It's come down just a little bit. It's fluctuating there. It seems to be pretty stable. So what I'll do now, I'll switch on the next switch, switch 2, and we'll watch the batteries and so forth again. You saw the amps drop straight away, increase rather, and now it's gone back to 0. The battery bank 1 is 12.6, fluctuating, 12.5, 12.6. The capacitor bank C2, C3 is fluctuating at 80, 100 volts, 80 to 100 volts, 80 to 104. Battery 2 is 12.75, 4, fluctuating there. And the capacitor bank C1, C4 is 37 volts roughly, fluctuating there. The speed now is 2,307, 305, 2,305 about. The amp draw is just under 1 amp. No, it's still 0.8 of an amp. A2 is 0.8 of an amp. A3 and A4, they did move as soon as I switched, but then they went back to 0. So it's probably just not drawing enough current, but it's just enough to enough volts to show what's in the capacitors. The speed now is reasonably stable. I think it's at 2,308 or 9. I'll just switch it off now. Thanks very much for watching. It's about 5 minutes now since I finished the testing. We'll just look at battery number 1. Battery bank, it's 13.12 volts. Now over on battery 2, it is 13.19 volts. Thanks very much for watching. Hi folks, it's about 15 minutes since I finished the test. You'll notice there now the battery 1 bank is 13.22 and battery bank 2 is 13.29. Like I said, that's about 15 minutes since I finished the test. Thanks very much. Bye. It's in Cognitive now. It's about an hour and a half since I did the last test. Battery 1 is 13.28 and battery 2 is 13.33. What I'm going to do now is just change over to 24 volts and do the 24 volt test exactly the same as I did before. Thanks. 1227. I'm going to I've got to set up for 24 volts. We'll notice that the I've got the speed is 0, of course. Battery 1 is 26 volts. Battery 2 is 26 volts. I've got the what's in the capacitor. C2, C3 is 24 volts, and what's in capacitor C1, 2 is 19 volts. Now I'll switch it on. You'll notice that the amps are up to. Can you get a bit closer? Yeah. The amps there are just under 1 amp, both of them. That's right. Now the C2 and C3 is fluctuating again. It's between 19 and 17. There's 25.4 the volts there. Battery 2, it's 12.4 to 13, 19. It's fluctuating. The C1, C2 is 1,670 odd. That's millivolts actually. No, it's high voltage, sorry. It's 1,700, 1,900 volts. That's what is going in there. And yet the capacitors aren't really that designed for that voltage. The speed here is 4,365 and it's reasonably stable there. So what I'll do now is switch on the other switch, switch 2. And you'll watch the amp draw on it. It just went up slightly, more than 1 amp, and it's dropped back to just under 1 amp on both of them. The amps on A3 and A4, they're registering nothing, but they did register when I first switched it on. They jumped up and they went back to 0. Battery 1 is 25.4. The capacitor bank C2, C3 is 16, 13 volts, 18 volts. That says high voltage there. And battery 2 is 20.6, 19. It's very fluctuates of volts there. That's the battery itself. I don't know why that is. C1 and C2 is high voltage there. It's got 13, 19, 17. The speed is 4,546 or 40. 4,540 revs. So that's just about all. I don't know why that's fluctuating so much, the battery on battery 2. But battery 1 is pretty stable at 25.4. That's all for now. Thanks very much. I'll just check the battery in about a quarter of an hour and see how it's gone up. Thanks for watching. Hi folks, it's just now 1 o'clock, and I just thought I'd show what the batteries are up to. It's 26.4 on battery 1, and battery 2 is 26.5. Thanks very much for watching.